Normally Skeptical, Parenting Through Nonbelief.
We're a married atheist couple raising two wonderful, strange children. We ask big questions, dissect weird parenting beliefs, and examine how society ignores or misrepresents families like ours. If you're any stripe of non-believer who's involved in raising children, welcome. You are our people.
Our kids have heard all our swears, but yours might not have. So be thoughtful if there are young people listening with you. How are you holding up?
I'm sad.
Yeah, the kids are not here right now.
Yeah.
They're at Camp Quest.
Which is wonderful. Happy for them. Camp Quest is great.
Camp Quest is amazing. Should go listen to our interview with Katie about it, because they're astounding and they have camps throughout the U.S. But it's a week with the kids gone.
Yeah.
Does it change or adjust how you think about how much sort of extra labor the kids are when they're gone?
Yep.
Does it make you feel like it's more or less than it feels when they're here?
What do you mean make it feel like it's more or less?
Well, I don't know. Like during these weeks, I always think I'm going to have like so much extra time. And I do have a lot of extra time, but it's never quite as much as I think it's going to be.
Okay.
But like in retrospect, I didn't know if it felt like, oh my gosh, I do even more labor for these kids than I realize when they're not here, or something in the other direction.
I mean, for me, it's the opposite. I know exactly how much labor it is. And I love them, but having a lot of time to write is magnificent. So I miss them, but not. And do I feel guilty? Yes. But that doesn't mean that I feel that guilty. Part of my journey towards self-knowledge is realizing that I value writing and that takes time. And that means that as much as I enjoy or am obligated to in equal measure or alternately in some cases, family tasks and such, I value that writing time even more because I have to carve it out and I have to be so diligent every day and make choices every day. And when they're gone, I can actually take a breath a little bit and then also write that much more. I was working on writing stuff for 3 hours yesterday, more than 3 hours. I never would have happened if the kids were here. Not even close. They are, let's say, a pleasant distraction from that other side of my life. I don't know, I don't have some sort of animus toward the time I spend in service of them, if that's what you're getting at. No, I don't regret the time I spend on them, but when they're gone, I do my best to capitalize on the time that I gain, because I gain a lot because I spend a lot of time on them.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. I'm glad I spent a lot of time on them, because that's if I'm going to make that part of my identity and I don't put that into them, then how truthful am I being to myself? That's not justice.
Yeah. Is it easier or harder this year than last year?
Is what easier or harder?
Having them gone?
Go?
Yeah.
I mean, it's easier because we have, that baseline of, we've been through this before, yada, yada, yada,
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like I'm not out of my mind for not being as stressed. But because I miss them, I nonetheless will always be stressed thinking about them.
2 days ago was bad for me because there was a big storm system in our area.
Yeah.
And
you were in a bad place.
Tornado touchdowns, not that far from where they were. So I was kind of tied to weather reports all day. But apparently they had a beautiful day where they were. So that's good. I can't wait to hear their stories. And I know Jaeger is really set on doing, or has asked several times to do more sleepaway camps next summer.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how I feel about that. That'll be interesting.
Sure.
I feel like, I don't know, I would be curious what the breakdown is across the country of like how much kids do sleepaway camps. I feel like there are places where it's like very common for kids to do long sleepaway camps over the summer.
Yes.
And other places not so much. So.
Well, I mean, I would say, sure, it's a cultural thing where the community that a kid's brought up in might be more inclined to, be campy. But I think that goes back to, in part at least in this country, what we've said before about how many sleepaway camps are religious in nature.
Mm.
And that a family that is predisposed to that sort of thing would see, oh, it's a sleepaway camp. They wouldn't think, oh, I'm going to further indoctrinate my child, but they would at least feel like their quote unquote family message will be preserved while their kid does this big summer adventure. So it's like it's a ideologically safe decision to make. And when you're committed that much to the dogma of whatever denomination or religion, I would imagine that that's comforting. So maybe it makes it easier for them to say yes. I don't know. That's an interesting question. I want to check that out.
I'm also curious because like we had a whole episode about sleepovers.
Yep.
And there's such a big feeling among parents to just like not do sleepovers. And I wonder if that's had an impact on sleepaway camps. I mean, I know, one thing that made me feel more comfortable about Camp Quest is just like knowing the values. There's also like a huge counselor to camper ratio, not a very small counselor to camper ratio. It's
correct.
And a lot of the counselors are adults. It's not
you
just
mean
like
camper to counselor.
Yeah. It's like 3 campers to every counselor or something.
The kids got a lot of attention. It's
wild
really
like
cool.
that. And a lot of the counselors are adults. It's not, I mean, there are a lot of young people who help out too, but I feel like a lot of the camps I went to were like, most of the counselors were teens and, it was run by adults, but like, it was like college students kind of managing everything.
Yep.
And I feel like there's sort of like a lot more adults on the ground at Camp Quest. So I'm just curious if people's concerns have bled over. I know it's funny, like for me, my big moment of getting terrified about religion was at a religious camp when we talked to other guests. Like a lot of stuff goes down at camps. So I feel like it is this sort of vulnerable moment of being away from your parents and dealing with some stuff you might not deal with otherwise. So yeah, I'm curious if it's gotten like harder for people to convince parents to do the sleepaway thing, or if that's just remained totally separate. I don't know. I'd be really curious.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what to think about all of that. This is our only sleepaway camp experience so far. So all I would have to go on would be just the stories that other people would tell us. It's an interesting conversation to have moving forward. I will keep thinking about it.
So this is like kinda a second family story, but I feel like it's interesting to talk about. So I have spoken many times about the amount of work I put into trying to find books that the kids will be excited by.
You really work hard at that. And it's really admirable.
It's a thing.
It is, very much.
So at the beginning of the summer,
Mhm.
the Care and Feeding podcast from Slate did an episode, and they interviewed somebody who had written an article about paying their kids to read.
Mm.
And, or maybe somebody posted about it. There had been like a lot of chatter about it on their Facebook page, and they talked about it. And I listened to that episode, and I was really inspired because we had gotten into an area where the kids were reading,
Mhm.
but they were only reading comics and graphic novels.
Yes. Now, again, of course, nothing against comics and graphic novels.
No. I think they are really valid. I think some of like the most amazing sort of artwork literature that has ever come out has been in the graphic novel form. I mean, I think Maus is the best thing that was ever done on the Holocaust. I think, what is that one? My Only Something is Monsters.
Oh, My Favorite Thing is Monsters.
Yes. My Favorite Thing is Monsters. Very adult graphic novel. It's 2 parts. That's the first part. I mean, I think that thing is just like a masterpiece of art and literature. It is so stunning. It's done in this like wild art style where it looks like torn out pages of a notebook and scribbles and drawings. And oh man, if you have any interest in sort of, I don't know, I think if you're an adult who likes any literature or art, you should go and find that book. Reader found some amazing things. They read a graphic novel called Monstrous, which is done by a person who was a transracial adoptee and grew up in kind of a rural area without a lot of people of color, and was about them, just kind of, their parents were wonderful, but, kind of feeling constantly out of place, how cosplay like really helped them find their identity, but just like beautiful storytelling. The monstrous part was sort of like them depicting themselves as monstrous as they felt at certain times.
Sure.
So do not mind that as a medium. Kids can read as many graphic novels as they like. But I did listen to that episode. And so I did a version, and it went so much better than I ever could have guessed. I just have to talk about it.
Please do.
So a lot of the debate was like whether reading should be put as something that's like, I think people who didn't like it were like, reading should be essential. Paying for it makes it seem like it's sort of an extra optional.
Sure.
And I totally get that. And like, as a family, I feel like, I mean, we've done like far from a perfect job, but I feel like there's sort of like a baseline of things that are just accepted. And like, the kids aren't going to get paid for just like basics that everybody is expected to do. They have to clean up their rooms before a cleaner comes so that there's not junk on the floor. And like, that's not,
Yes.
They don't get paid for that. That's just part of like being in our household and helping it run smoothly. We have paid for chores when it's like beyond that. Like Jaeger sometimes helps me garden, and like not everybody does that. And I feel like that's sort of above and beyond because I like to do a bigger gardening thing. So I'll pay him for that help. Reader has taken on some extra tasks at times. So I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I do want reading to be like, that's just something we do in our family. So I didn't want to set up the act of reading as something that's like paid for. But there was a situation. And so what we did is I told the kids at the start of the summer, I'm like, you can read whatever you want. You know, it's our expectation that like you try to do reading every day.
Mm-hmm.
However, I know you've been reading graphic novels, and like, that's great. And we love graphic novels and manga. But I think it would be really cool if you challenged yourself to read some more novels. And like, I know that that can sort of feel like a bigger, not challenge, but like it felt like a little bit more of a push and maybe could take a little bit more work to get into. And so I was like, you do not have to read a novel. They each had to read one book for school. So like obviously that wasn't
That was not optional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I'm not going to make you read novels, but I know it's an extra challenge. And so I'm going to pay you for every novel you read. And if you read more than 10, I'm going to give you a bonus. But you don't have to. This is it's an incentive. This is not something you have to do. It's just something to like push you to try something a little bit different. And it had no impact on Jaeger. The big win for the summer with Jaeger is that he looked through the school had like a number of books they could choose from. And he looked through and like wasn't super enthused. But I pointed out one and he ended up loving it. I forget the exact name. I will post it in the show notes. But like so many kudos to the school for putting this on the list. It was about censorship and a school trying to censor parts of books. I think it even brought in like a religious aspect and that some of the censorship was inspired by religion. So
feels very appropriate for 2026.
Yeah, but like this is what makes me really like our school district, that this is the kind of stuff they have on for the kids to read. So the win with Jaeger was all on our school system. He really got into that and was super jazzed to do the project they had to do about it. So yay. For Reader is very cash oriented, likes getting money, and it totally pushed them to like pick up books again. But like it worked exactly as I would have hoped because they are loving it. So they read The Phantom Toll Booth and then
the book on ADHD.
And then they had read the first book in the Warrior series, which is about like cats.
Warrior cats. So cool.
And then had like gotten into their whole graphic novel phase. So they went back and reread that one and really liked it and have just been tearing through the series. And so it was just like, yes, they're excited about getting the money, but also, I mean, I have to believe they really are enjoying reading because it's like they've been asking to stay up late. You know, I poked my head into their room a couple of times when it's like getting sort of late. And I'm like,
they're still reading.
Yeah. And I'm like, you got to go to sleep. And one time they looked up at me with these big eyes and were like, it's the ending and it's so tense and it's over several chapters. And I was like, okay, just go finish what you need to finish.
We've created a monster.
A little bit, but like the best monster. So I'm just so happy about that. And we kind of talked about it and they said they started reading the Demon Slayer series. And so they had really gotten into that and just wanted to finish that manga series. And it's sort of like gotten on a roll. And this just sort of kicked them back to novels. So it'll be intriguing to see when the summer's over, kind of what they decide to do.
Yes.
But I do feel like this definitely inspired them to have that experience that I think is like so key of just like having a book you want to get lost in that you can't put down and seeing that as like a really fun thing and not a burden. And, you know, like speaking of Camp Quest, I think last summer that increased their reading quite a bit, not so much with novels, but like they had brought a book to camp. And on the drive home, they had actually talked about like, it was so nice having a book. And like, I love what that did to my brain at the end of the day and just being like calmer. And I want to keep doing that. So, so like that was really great last summer. And then this summer, I'm just like, yay. And they're totally going to hit the goal. They're going to get the bonus. I can't imagine that's not going to happen. But yeah, so I don't know. Give it a try. I mean, we, you know, like different financial privilege. I think.
Sure.
I
Also.
think even if we had like set the cost per book lower, like it probably would have been pretty inspiring as well.
Yeah, I think so.
But I'm really proud of like splitting the difference and not making the act of reading like something that we pay for, but doing this challenge. And like now I think I have to think about it. Like we'll see where we are next summer, right? I can imagine doing the same thing again, or we could do it for something else. Like if they've really been stuck on a particular series, it's like, hey, you know, maybe we're like, hey, what if you picked up like a history book and we could make it more like, I don't know. It's just interesting to think about because it was really cool.
Yes, very cool.
When I proposed it, how did you think it was going to go?
I don't know. Like, I obviously was hopeful, but I didn't want to really say anything because I knew that you were really excited about it because you really you invest a lot of time and energy into the kids reading. And so I thought also maybe the kids might feel pressured if they knew that we were both kind of like really rooting for them, because then things come up and they don't read as much and they feel like they've let us down. And I don't know, like I felt like the best thing I could do is just shut up and observe.
Though you did help Reader like make their stack of books for the summer, right?
That was, I offered many suggestions and just basically supporting them in their decision, but not trying to steer them into making the decision. I didn't feel it was my place.
That makes sense. But yeah, I mean, this summer we sent Reader with 3 books because he was partway through one.
I fully expect Reader to be done with all of them by the time they come home.
I think there's a good chance. The book they have to read for school is pretty short compared to some of the things they've been reading. So I think I would be shocked if they're not at least partway through the 3rd book when we pick them up. All right. So I want to talk about something. And it's so funny because I've been thinking about this for months. And I was even going to have us record about in the last episode and then chose what we end up talking about.
Sure.
But just this morning, it got picked up by like other atheist commentators.
Okay.
Which I think is so funny. So for the record, in my head, I was ahead of the curve on this.
Good for you. Look at you.
We're going to be behind the curve based on how long it takes me to edit. But
you're an influencer.
But I'm glad because I don't know if I would have brought up the kind of exact take that they had on it. So a couple of months ago, my social media just started feeding me all of these videos. First, it was from older parents talking about their kids breaking off contact with them. And so, I think a lot of these people are like selling courses and stuff, how to handle it. There are people who are like less critical of their kids who are selling courses about like how to reconnect with your kids when they cut off contact. So just like all these videos. And then I also started getting fed videos of adults who have decided to cut off contact with their parents, kind of talking about it from the other side. And, sometimes commenting on the videos of these parents and it's this like whole rift. And it's like the parents are saying, the therapy industry has changed and it used to coach people through reconciliation. And now it tells people to just like cut off their parents altogether. And this is really unhealthy.
There's one though?
Well, so I think it's complex. So, one of the women did a whole video about like, now people say everything is trauma. So she did a video of like, here are some things that aren't trauma, by the way, like saying you can't go out with your friends late. I don't know. She had a whole list of things that are like clearly not trauma.
Right.
And
so is the argument that kids who disown their parents, as it were, are just being like petulant or short-sighted?
Yeah.
Is that the defense? That's great. That's really great.
And obviously the kids are saying these are people who refuse to look at themselves critically. And
so in other words, the kids are using tools from therapy effectively on their relationships with their parents because they're viewing their parents as people instead of authorities.
yes.
Okay. So what's the sort of like social media outcome that you found?
I don't know. I just feel like it's this big thing going on. So
Oh, okay. I mean, I always thought it was interesting years ago before I knew as much as I do now from the inside out about therapy and its value and its processes. And before I viewed my parents more as people, not like my parents were or are abusive in any way, shape, or form. But I would remember seeing, those stories about, famous children, or like especially like kid actors like Macaulay Culkin, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he one? Where the parents view the child as a means to an end, and the child, rightly so, feels used and ends up disowning their parents as they are legally able to do.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that was really interesting, is like, what is it about their relationship with their parents? Like, I was really naive and I didn't really understand. And so now with the proliferation of this, especially through the MAGA years, where people's outward political views are really indicative of their ethics, I think that, this increasing number of kids separating themselves from their parents, but with some degree of force, isn't surprising.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably justified. And I don't know, like every circumstance obviously is going to have its own degree of nuance and its own history, and, the justifications for the child feeling like they need to separate themselves from their parents will change from person to person, circumstance to circumstance. So I just don't feel comfortable judging, but I'm not going to like blanket side with the parents because authority. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
so the reason atheist commentators got involved, and Hemant Mehta was the first person I saw.
Yep.
I'll link to his post, but I believe it was Focus on the Family put out an article.
Lovely.
Telling parents.
I'm sure it was science-based, robust in its methodology.
I haven't read it. I think it was actually taking the stance of like, give your children grace and sort of like.
Really?
Good
apparently for them.
No, but so here's the thing.
Okay, never mind.
Don't ever say good for them to focus on the family. What Hemant Mehta said.
I felt dirty even considering it.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
Cool, but the parenting styles that you suggested.
Oh, yeah, they're totally complicit.
Are abusive and are the reason that kids would choose to break contact with their parents.
Yeah.
And, when I first realized I was an atheist, like I followed a lot of what Focus on the Family did, but I haven't for years and years and years. If you're not aware of them, was James Dobson the head?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they put out a lot of parenting books. They suggested physical punishment.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the stuff that Hema was talking about, I mean, to the point of like, if spanking doesn't work, saying this because you're not spanking your kids hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like portraying just normal child development as being their sinful nature, like trying to harm their parents.
Yeah.
Very much, as he said, presenting it as like a battle between the kids and parents, where parents had to like take
Gird
control
themselves with the armor of Jesus.
So just, and also like obviously, I mean, just like so anti-LGBTQ. So
I mean, that goes without saying. I mean,
yeah.
What does God like less than a dirty, abominate queer child?
And so, listening to some of these parents, I definitely was wondering if this might be part of the issue. And I don't know, for any of these like very popular ones on social media, I don't know if it is. But I was thinking about it because I feel like I come at it with an interesting perspective, because there was a point in my life, I have never had like big groups of friends and people I care about. It's usually been a pretty tight group. And there was a point in my life where, of like the 6 people I was closest to and loved the most in the entire world, 3 of them decided that they didn't want contact with me anymore. And very thankfully, like I'm back in contact with 2 of those people. Our relationship is not the same, but I'm so happy to have them in my life. So I mean, I really know how painful that is.
Sure.
It is devastating when someone you love decides that they don't want you around anymore.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
And like in one of those cases, it was a very clear case of like, you did this thing that made me very upset, and I am not talking to you because of that.
Yeah.
Which was a very, I'm not going to get into the details of it, but at least it was like okay, this is the thing. And then for the other 2, I don't know, like if I interviewed those people, they might not characterize it this way, but like the way I felt it was like much more like, oh, you are just not enough. You're not enough. You're not a good enough person for us to want you in our lives anymore.
Sure.
And this was a period where there was, do you know those posts where it's like, oh, am I too much for you? Then find somebody less. Have you seen those?
I guess, maybe.
So there's like a whole thing
I get the gist, sure.
Yeah. And I hated those posts so much because like on my side, I was like, oh, I'm not enough for you. Find somebody more. Wait, that's like even more depressing. I'm like, where are the memes for the people who are being told they're not enough? There's no there's no really positive spin on this. Yeah. And so listening to these parents, it was just intriguing because I get that it's incredibly painful. And I am like a weird person because
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I definitely have like an ego about some things, but I feel like I don't know. It's just, listening to these parents, like when that happened, and I would assume when it's your kids, like it's somebody that you love the most in the world. And so on some level, even if you might be able to see that it like stems from an issue with the person, or, I mean, there was just no world in which I could totally write it off because it's somebody that I love the most in the world, right? Like it was people I respected because they're wise and smart and caring. And so when somebody like that tells you that they want nothing to do with you, I don't know. Like I never thought about just like writing them off or assuming it had nothing to do with me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then I was like, obviously I would be devastated if one of the kids did that.
Sure.
But to an even greater degree, like we raised our kids.
Yeah.
So I think in a more extreme way, I don't think I could assume that I had no responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you think that all of their critiques of you are wrong,
Yeah.
you were still involved in this person becoming who they are
Yes.
to make that determination. So even if what they're saying you think is not negative, like,
Mm-hmm.
I think my go-to would still be to look at like my own responsibility.
Yeah. But I mean, like, look at where we are politically right now. Like, there are a lot of people who vote thinking that their vote absolves them of the like civic responsibility to put people ahead of even something they might consider as strong as national identity. Like, we've talked about patriotism versus nationalism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's harder to practice empathy. That is the strength. Like James Gunn's Superman. Like, it's harder to be kind because being kind means you occasionally or often have to put your desires and impulses in the back seat. Like, you have to put the other person first. And I don't know, like, so much of conservative parenting feels or reads like it exists to protect the parent's feelings instead of the child's well-being.
Mm-hmm.
And they equate the parent feeling good about the job they're doing as parents with the child's well-being, which is fundamentally toxic. Because again, the child becomes a means, not an end unto themselves, like Kant would be spinning in his grave. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
And I even thought about it because it's like, I can imagine very legitimate situations
Mm-hmm.
where parents would have to put forward boundaries that
Sure.
might make their kid cut off contact.
Sure.
So, like, I mean, we have family members who have gone through having a kid with addiction issues.
Yep.
I can't imagine being in that situation.
Yeah.
But, like, at certain points, they had to make boundaries
Yeah.
that made him exit their lives, right? Because of his addiction, he couldn't do the things that made it safe for him to be around.
Sure.
So, like, there's that. I know there's somebody else in my life who made a change towards, like, very conservative Christianity.
Oh, yes.
And has chosen to use physical punishment with his very young child.
Ugh.
And, like, if I was his parent, I don't know what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I would try to do anything to stay in that child's life to be a safe person for them.
Right. Yes.
But
that's so hard. Yeah.
But I've thought about it. Because, like, if we were at an event with him, with Jaeger and Reader, and he did that,
mm-hmm.
I couldn't let Jaeger and Reader see that and not do something. I feel like making them watch somebody harm their child.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just know our kids, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, they would be horrified.
Sure.
And also, like, I wouldn't, like, what sort of parent would I be if they saw me see that?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, we're just going to let that happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think I could do that. So I think I would have to have some kind of conversation of, like, I can't change what you do, but, like, I have to ask you not to do that around my family, or, like, we have to go. I don't know. Like, we would have to do something, right?
Yeah.
And so I can imagine in that situation, like, that person being so offended that they're like, well, I'm done with you, right? So I can imagine, and mental illness, like, people potentially not taking their medication. Like, it can be really hard when you have a family member struggling like that.
Yeah.
So I can imagine a ton of situations where children could decide not to see their parents, and you would have total empathy for the parents in that situation.
Sure.
You never hear those kind of stories from these people, right? And I assume if they had them,
These people you're talking about,
Like
the
the ones who
complainers, the parents
online,
who
yeah.
are galled that their children would dare to speak up against their parenting.
Yeah. So I think...
Yeah, you don't usually see the other side. It's usually like, my parents are like, they're trying to indoctrinate my children into their Christianity, and I've told them to stop, and I don't want to like say no to Thanksgiving, but I feel like I have to say no to Thanksgiving. Like, I can't tell you how many of those I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they almost never talk about the actual things their kids have said to them.
Sure.
That are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You will also see them say, like, is there one thing I could do to make it better?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, that's also a profound misunderstanding, because I assume it wasn't one thing you did to make it bad. Like, it was probably a lifetime of things for your child to decide to completely separate with you. So
Sure.
We're probably talking about like a bigger set of actions that need changing than like a single apology.
Mm.
And I heard one guy talking, and he was like, so you feel nervous or uncomfortable? Well, sorry, like, that's life. And
This is a dad saying that to his kids?
Yeah. And so,
but that cuts both ways. Like, he's objecting to the kids cutting him out of their lives. So obviously, like, it bothers him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have piped the fuck up.
Yeah. And I mean, I had like, there are
no self-awareness.
Like nerve-wracking conversations that you can potentially have with your parents.
Sure.
Like, as parents get older, you know, maybe you have to talk to them about like it not being safe to drive anymore. Like, there are tons of things that are like legitimately hard.
We're putting you in a home, and we're not going to spend any money on it.
No.
You have a budget of $500 a month.
Or probably more like in this case, like maybe real disagreements about something, or like something about how you're raising your kids, and there's like a strong feeling, and that can be a hard conversation. And like, I agree, like everybody has to accept that like hard conversations are part of being an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, and like one thing I've had to deal with is, you know, since I had that estrangement from people I care about.
Yep.
Like, when things get hard, I get very scared, because I'm like, I have lost so many of the people most important to me. Like, I can't lose a lot more, you know? Like, I only have so many people I can lose. And so, you know, there was a point with my mom where we like had a couple of hard visits, and it made me like incredibly anxious, because I was like, I love you so much. Like, I can't have another person decide that I'm too difficult to deal with. So I would get very anxious, but like, but still, that's not, and we worked through it, right? Like, everything's cool with my mom. We're all good. But like, that's not like the core experience of being with my parent, right?
Right.
Like, my mom is a place of comfort. I love seeing her. Like, your parents are wonderful. Like, you know, I mean, like, their house is beautiful. I get nervous that our kids are going to break something lovely that they own.
They're not going to break anything.
They break something almost every trip.
Okay, well, they do, but they're adorable.
They are. But like, still, like, my main, you know, experience of being with your parents is like lovely, and knowing that I'm with people who I adore, you know, and we're going to have like special time together.
My father loves you more than he loves me.
I don't think that's true, but like,
I think it's true.
But, you know, just, you know, I go in their house and I'm like, oh, it's gorgeous, and like, I just love hanging out. So like, things can be tense, but like, if my kids' primary emotion when they saw me was tension and worry,
I would look in the mirror. Like, I don't know how, as like a neurodivergent person, I wouldn't immediately take that personally. Like, I would immediately think, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong?
Yeah,
I did something gravely wrong to this person whom I love. Like, what, like, why, what did I do? And I would lose sleep over it. I would probably run the risk of ruining the relationship just in the effort to try to make things right.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine having that dismissive attitude that you were describing those parents espousing. It runs contrary to everything that I would not only choose to do, but I think every instinct I would have. I don't
Yeah.
understand it. I do not grok.
And like, look, there are terrible therapists out there. Like, one of the hardest things about therapy is like finding someone really good. And we've talked about it. So like,
oh,
I
man,
can
I got so
imagine.
lucky.
Yeah. And I was really lucky.
Yeah.
Where we lived before, having somebody wonderful. But
Yeah.
like, before I found her, I got with this woman who was just like dead set on me getting an accounting degree.
I
was
remember
having
that. Like,
all these stress issues, and my job was terrible, and we were talking, and she found out I was good with numbers, and she's like, "Oh, you just need to become an accountant." And it's like, well, there are lots of things, like, it was so strange, right? And I was just like, okay, I guess I'm going to find somebody else. Like, this is, like, yes, I would make a good accountant. But like, the whole point is I want less stress. And like, I don't want a job where during tax season, like, it takes over your life. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just so weird and narrow. So there are tons of therapists, I'm sure, who give bad advice, because there are a lot of bad therapists. Some people get into therapy because they're dealing with their own mental health issues. And so like, that's why they're interested in mental health care. One podcaster I listened to, her mom was incredibly abusive. Therapist. There are bad people in the profession. So have therapists given bad advice? I feel certain they have.
Would it stun you to learn that I discovered later on that the wildly abusive fling that I had, or one of, in Scotland in junior year abroad, ended up becoming a psychiatrist?
No, it happens.
It was very on brand for the whole physician heal thyself side of the psychiatric community.
It is a thing. And that's why, good therapists are like...
I think I snort laughed when I saw, like, it was very guttural, primal, involuntary responsive humor at the absurdity of that situation.
Yeah.
But I digress. I'm sorry.
And I mean, your dad used to always like to say people are no damn good. So like...
he still says it.
Someday. But no, he's a man of the people now.
He is, but people are still no damn good.
So,
which is interesting, because the transitory property means that he is now fully committed to being a part of that group of people that is themselves no damn good. I'm going to let him ponder the math of that.
But, so like, I'm sure there are people who have cut people out of their lives for like less than salient reasons, right? I mean...
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah.
But what I come back to is, it's your child.
I know. It's like, fundamentally, the responsibility should lie in the part of the parent. I don't understand. I cannot fathom the decisions that these people are making. It is alien to me. It's abusive. It's gaslighty. It's really just dirty and icky and oily and weird. And I don't know. Like, yeah. I figure I could flip a coin at the very least to guess the parents' political leanings and have that coin be heads on both sides.
Well, I did really appreciate like some of the commenters starting to talk up about the possible religious political side of this, because I was really wondering about it.
The lack of accountability, right? That confluent, like the same mentality that says, listen to the loud voice that others, the people that disagree with you, the same people that say, follow God because God made us, and like a potter working with clay can break the things he makes at whim without consequence. Like divine command theory, authoritarianism, inside or outside politics and religion, it just feels like that mentality can't help but rub off onto parenting styles. Because in both cases, you're dealing with adults who have willfully submitted to toxic authority relationships.
Mm.
And so what else do they know? But here's the authority, like I don't see how it couldn't be connected. Like it feels intrinsic.
Yeah.
But what do I know? I'm just a autistic ADHD dad trying to write his first novel, out here feeling guilty about having all this free time, missing the kids but not.
Yeah.
Sitting in silence that I relish but abhor.
I think
feels very poetic.
I think the closest we've come is last year when we picked Jaeger up at camp. He told us that while at camp, he had completely forgotten we existed.
Yeah. I remember the look on their faces when we were there. It was like, oh, right. Those people exist. And that moment of recognition of like processing, the little hourglass turning. Bing! Right. Yes. Mom, Dad, hi.
Thankfully, I think speaks more to the awesomeness of Camp Quest.
Oh, no, no shade on any of that. I want them to forget we exist. One of the best parts about this is that I feel safe with them being at Camp Quest. We've talked about this. Like, they have a number of people there that are far more qualified to offer emergency services to my kids than I myself am. Mm-hmm. So I might love them as a parent, but the counselors and staff there are like medically trained and trained in like emergency response to a degree that I am not. So they are safe there. And so, moving forward, they're eventually going to be more autonomous in high school and then on their own in college. Yeah. Even if they are living in town, they're not going to want to live with us. And I don't want them to live with us. I want them to be off on their own, carving out their own existence. It is so important.
I don't know. I think there's a chance Reader is going to want to live with us, and we're going to be like, no,
not going to happen.
Push yourself.
I agree. Like I think that
Jaeger is going to be like, see ya.
Yeah, but I really do want them to have their own lives, and they are going to leave the nest. So this is like a sort of a soft opening, like in restaurant terms.
Yeah.
Right? A really controlled, friendly entree into the greater world of autonomy. And I think it's really important for them to do that. And also, like, look, Reader was lit, like leader in training at their STEM camp this year. Mm-hmm. And Jaeger wants to do that next year alongside Reader, who wants to do it again.
Yep.
And like they want to take on more responsibility. Jaeger feels like, in particular, like a sense of responsibility and joy when playing with younger kids in particular. Like there's something in them that makes me feel really confident in their ability to socialize in like stranger groups, mm-hmm. in a way that I don't think I ever was as a kid.
No, same.
And that's so admirable. And I really I don't want to push them to do it, but I feel compelled as a parent who wants them to grow and have increasing self-knowledge to give them opportunities where that is something that it isn't necessarily that they're going to be expected to do, but put in a situation where they would be exposed to the desire to chip in that way more often than they would if they were just here at home, occasionally interacting with a younger cousin or a younger sibling of one of their friends, for instance. Or like a younger kid at one of their activities, like mm-hmm. Jaeger and fencing, for instance. Or eventually Reader when Reader is in 8th grade and like this budding trombone virtuoso and, is mentoring the 6th graders who are just coming up and just learning the instrument. And meanwhile, Reader's like, busting out his Will Riker impression.
I can 100% see
total boss.
Yeah.
When playing trombone, how does Reader enter the chair? From the back. big leg over, casual sit, lean over one elbow. So you want to learn trombone, huh? Give me mentorship in the key of 5, 6, 7, 8.
All right. I think we got to call it. We need to thank First Frame Music and Jonathan Zalbin for the music for this podcast.
And that wraps up this episode of The Family Skeptical, where nothing is sacred
except for our kids.
We're a married atheist couple raising 2 wonderful, strange children. Hang on a second. I lost my mind. Let me try it again.